Lahaina, and welcome to Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future, brought to you by the Kiwani Foundation. I'm Ahu Keikahu Cardwell, and here we are today in Honolulu. We have a very interesting guest on the show, so let's go on over here and meet her. Anohi, aloha.
Hey, aloha.
How are you? Good.
I'm good.
Glad to have you on the show.
Mahalo.
We are standing, believe it or not, in the back of a Walmart, aren't we? In central Honolulu.
Yes.
And why are we standing in the back of a Walmart?
This is the location of the ahu, of the burial site, where we finally reinterred ancestral remains that were disturbed at the site in 2003.
Really?
Really.
So you put bones back here that
Yes.
were disturbed.
Yes.
Which leads me to believe that the bones were originally here,
Yes.
and then when Walmart came in and started digging, they disturbed them, yes?
Yes.
Wow. And so you guys realized that and came to the rescue of the bones of
Yes,
the Evie.
we did. In 2003, we tried to stop them on that very day. When we got here that day.
When they first started building the place. Yes?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, they had started on the other side of the property, and on this side was a whole cemetery. There were 65 ancestral remains were taken out. That day we came, there were ancestral remains all over the place. They were exposed.
Just laying
to
around.
the sun, just laying around.
Wow.
Open to everything. There was a pot of toilet right on the side of the burial sites. There was rubbish thrown all over in the lua, even some over the iwi kupuna, the ancestral remains. It was very, it was terrible. And that day we said we wanted resolution. We wanted them covered right away, or we were going to stage a protest and we were going to risk arrest for that.
But Kauanohi, isn't this illegal to do? Aren't there laws against doing
There
that?
are laws. There are laws. And what they did was they did the survey, archaeological inventory survey, for the other side of the property.
Way over the other side.
On the other side.
But
the
not this
opposite
side.
Not on this side.
So only half of the property.
Only half of the property. And, you know, of course they knew this side is where they'd run into iwi kupuna. In fact, this whole property could have had ancestral remains strewn all over.
But they knew they were more likely to run into them over here, so they
Here.
surveyed the other side,
So the
not
other
this side.
Yes.
Wow,
yes.
how
But we found
tricky.
Yes, we found proof of that, and the archaeologists and the state had, you know, worked together in working that out.
This is the place where the Evie, the bones have been reinterred, right here.
Yes, finally after 6 years.
In this area right here.
And this, yes.
Wow. So this is an ahu, and right beneath these stones up here
Yes.
lay the bones. Yes.
Yes.
And do we know who's in here, Kauanohi?
It was a mixture of ancestral remains from, you know, way back. Some were found in flex positions, in fact.
Really?
Yes, so you know they were
and
like very old.
It's right, exactly.
Yes.
So when they're in flex position, mean kind of like a sitting position, right?
In fact, it's like their knees are up to their chest.
They buried them that way thousands of years ago, not hundreds
Yes,
of years
not
ago.
hundreds of years ago.
Wow.
Yes. And there were other remains that were, you know, flat and laying straight out, but they were Native Hawaiian as well.
Yeah, yeah. So do we know the names of the people that were here or not?
There were some the names of some families that
Uh-huh.
could relate to people buried who lived and were buried in this area, but they could not point to a specific ancestor and say that was.
Yeah,
that
but
was
that's
it.
really what I'm getting at is that there are
Yes.
people alive today
Uh-huh.
that at a minimum could say a relative of mine, of my family, is over here that just got disturbed, yeah?
Yes, I could say that.
You could say that.
Well, I could say I have a relative here because my ancestors lived in this area
Wow.
as well, you know, and
Wow.
and a lot of the descendants that came forward could say the same thing, you
Wow.
know, because their ancestors lived in this general area
Wow.
way back. It is a possibility that one of these remains were their ohana.
Wow.
And because we have like this tremendous tie and feeling in our na'au, and why we come out and to fight to protect them, confirms that yes, we must have kupuna here,
Yeah.
or we wouldn't be as adamant in our fight
Yeah.
to protect
Yeah.
them.
So Kawanoe, in ancient times, what was this area? Let's walk over here a
Okay.
little bit. What was this area like that people lived here? Was it residential? What was it like?
Yes, there were villages.
Really?
Actually, yes. And in this area, in urban Honolulu, in the urban corridor from River Street to Waikiki to Diamond Head, was the urban area where there were villages and there were fish ponds all along this area. Was fish ponds, in scattered areas, and people lived and they made their living and they took care of and raised their families there. And where they lived is usually where they covered their family.
Where they buried their families.
Right.
So these were big neighborhoods
These are big neighborhoods, yes.
of people.
Yes.
And they also had food production here.
Yes.
So they had their supermarket or
Supermarket,
refrigerator.
Right. Their fish ponds for fish, and they had their lo'is. There were lo'is scattered all over in urban,
Wow.
in whole.
Let's go back, roll the clock back to what we were saying earlier, 2003.
Okay.
All of a sudden you realize there's something going on here. And you also realize, I gotta act.
Yeah.
So then what happened?
Well, we came that morning and we demanded that they do something about cleaning up the mess, for one thing, because there was like lunch plates all over, people leaving food, and there was opala in the
Trash.
The trash, and the worst part was that the Evie was out there
Exposed.
exposed to the sun. The
Which
sun-
is totally
we-
contrary to the culture, right?
Yes, we arrived early that morning before the sun came up,
Right.
and we were panicking. God, the sun is coming up, and so we had them throw. What they did was throw cardboards, pieces of cardboard over them.
Yes.
So that's when we demanded some people come out here. We call whoever's running this operation, get them out here. We need to talk, call the state, call whoever you guys got to call, because we're not leaving, and if nothing is done this day, we're going to raise hell. And they started getting people out, and by the end of the day, we had truckloads of crushed, I think it was crushed coral, is what they didn't want sand. We wanted sand. And so they bought truckloads of crushed coral and covered the Evie, or we weren't going to leave. So by the end of the day is what they did. They at least covered them and gave us time to cook. Now we talk.
So that was the end of day one.
That was the end.
Whoa, what a day.
That was a day. Yes, that was a day. And we went onto the property. They were trying to get us off, and we weren't going to leave.
Right.
They said we needed hard hats. We had somebody go get us hard hats. We needed steel toe shoes. We got steel toe shoes. Now what? Now what? You guys got to deal with us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So then what happened? I mean, did you guys keep coming back day after day, or did you get officials involved? Or
We got officials involved, and we kept coming back to protest for answers. We wanted answers. There was a lawsuit that came out. Of course, we lost, and they ended up moving the kupunas. Okay, that was one thing. Then they left the kupunas there, under this ramp.
Under this ramp?
Under this ramp. That even drove us even more.
So wait a minute, there are people buried there, and they built a ramp on top of them.
Yes, there were people there.
Wow.
And there could be more kupuna there that they didn't find.
Right.
Thank God. But anyway, they were in a container under the ramp for a couple of years.
Just sitting there.
Just sitting there waiting for them to make some kind of decision. Oh, and what was holding it up was the lawsuit against Walmart's archaeologist. You see, because he had done all kind of things on Iwi Kupuna, and so he was actually holding it up. He kept on appealing and appealing. And we're thinking, that he was doing that on purpose. But finally, in the end, the state had compromised with him. Just drop the charges already. I told him, just drop the charges against them. They'll take care of him. He'll be taken care of in his own time.
Later on, yeah.
In his own time.
They'll get him.
Yes. So for now, let's put the kupunas back. So that's how we worked it out. And finally, in 2009, we moved ahead.
2009, 6 years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
So that's like my grandmother, my grandfather, my father, my mother, anybody's relative sitting in some bin for their bodies sitting in some bin for
Yes.
6 years above the ground,
Yes.
being disrespected.
Disrespected, drunk. People driving over. Driving over. We were here. We used to go crazy being here protesting and watching all, people driving over, but they didn't listen to us.
Wow.
No, not at all. And that's why I felt like finally come to the decision that let's just cut him loose. Just let him go. Forget about it. Let's take care of the kupunas right away.
Is it okay if we walk over here by the ahu?
Yes.
All right, let's go. I want to take a look at this. This is really something. This is quite large, as a matter of fact. Once you start to get up closer to it,
Yes.
you realize that it's large, which means only one thing. There's a lot of people underneath.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you guys built this ahu, yes?
Yes.
Wow, how long did it take you to do this?
Oh, the planning, maybe a couple weeks.
Okay.
And then it took them maybe about a week to get it to the point where all we needed to do was put the kupunas inside.
Right.
And then they cover it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you put them in at night, after dark, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because the culture says not to be exposed to the sunlight at all whatsoever.
Correct. And they were wrapped at night.
They were put here 2009.
Yes.
Okay, and then why are you come over here every now and then, right?
Oh yes. So whenever I live in Nanakuli, so whenever I come to town, I always at least pass by. Say aloha to the kupunas.
Right. But I mean, Nanakuli's on the west side of Oahu, way far away. That's quite a drive.
Yes.
And so I see you here. When we arrived, you were in here and you were picking off the yellow tea leaves off of the tea plants.
Cleaning the key.
So that means that you are cleaning the key, cleaning the area, malama.
Malama, the
The
aina, the
aina.
mahi.
So you're here on a semi-regular basis to keep this area clean, to show your
Yes.
respect and to care for it, right?
Yes, to care for it. That's part of the kuleana. It's our tradition and our culture. Some Native Hawaiians believe, like my family believe, that it is our kuleana to malama the vahi and the ilikupuna. And in turn, they will protect us and strengthen us spiritually.
Wow. So in other words, if you take care of them, they take care of you.
Right.
Right. So how many people know that this is even here now?
Well, the families, the descendants know,
Right.
and extended families know. Outside of that, not too many, because I especially now that the burial issues are being raised.
Yes.
And so I've been telling different people, oh, well, if you want to go see some burial sites that, that's already Malama, go pass by Walmart. Where? So they go, where? And I
Walmart?
said, and I said, on the backside, on the corner of, Makalo and Sheridan, you'll see an ahu, a stone ahu. That's kupunas there. What? Because this is the one of the only ones on Oahu that is outside like this where you can see. Other burials that we've done are not as exposed as this.
Yeah, this is quite public.
This
isn't
is
it?
quite, yes.
I remember back in 2003 when all this was coming down and the protests and everything, this made big news here in Hawaii.
Yes, it was big on the mainland too because of Walmart was desecrating graves on the mainland as well.
Right, so it brought up that whole issue.
Yes.
And so this was, everybody knew about this here.
Yes.
And people knew about it on in the U.S. also.
Correct.
So it wasn't just this site in Hawaii that Walmart was in hot water for. It was other sites across the U.S.
Yes.
continent that they were also in hot water for.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And I didn't know that myself until this started and
Right.
people started contacting me. 'Cause,
Right.
once it was in a newspaper, it just flew all over.
Right.
So everybody was contacting me.
Right.
About this. And I was like, wow, that's good to know. So we even had protest T-shirts done.
Really? What did they say?
It listed all the places on the mainland as where Walmart was responsible for desecrating graves, and we had that big yellow smile face with a sad face instead, and it said Skull Mart. It's like, So of course everybody wanted one of those shirts.
Right.
So, you know, said, well, come out and protest and
Right.
you get a shirt. This place was filled with people.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So, Kamanohi, let me ask you now a very loaded question. Do you think Walmart has learned their lesson?
No.
Why?
Well, to me, from the looks of it here, they haven't.
Why do you say that? Looking
Well,
around.
because with this Vahi has been here at least a year or over, and it should be in better shape, I think. You know, so it tells me that they're not really, you know, putting an effort towards taking care of the surroundings, of the landscape. The owl will take care of itself.
Of course.
You see, you know,
Of
but
course.
you can see how it's like overgrown.
Yes. Like over here?
Yeah, that's overgrown.
Yeah.
The la'i is weak. They look weak. They're falling.
These plants here.
Even the lawa'i, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't look too healthy. They've been here, you know, they should be all over already, flourishing.
Yeah.
The kukuina tree looks a little frail to me. It could be stronger. It should be standing.
Yeah.
You know, it can do a little bit.
Yeah.
Give it more attention.
So are you the only one that comes here now to take care of this place, to malama this place?
Well, I don't know, but that's what I do. There are, how many descendants were there? Jeez, I think in the end, there were about 60 or 70 descendants. So I'm not, I know me and my family come here.
Right.
Yes.
Others
whenever
may
they-
come, but you
others
haven't
may
bumped
come.
into them.
No, I haven't. When my sister comes from Keawe Moku, I know she comes here. Whether it's just passing by and giving oli, sometimes that's all I have time to do.
Yes.
And this person, I just give it oli. You know, that works. They know we're here.
Why is it important to protect the ancestors like this? Because not every culture does.
You're right. Not every culture. And to me, it's the Western culture that doesn't.
Exactly. That's who I meant. I just
Yeah.
didn't want to say it.
Why not? It's the Aboriginal cultures that do.
Yes.
And
every single one of them.
Every single one of them. They have their own ways of taking care of their ancestors. That's very important. For Native Hawaiians, we believe that, you know, like in taking care of the ancestral remains, they in turn will take care of us spiritually on the other side.
What kind of pressure have you felt as a result of this, Kawanohi?
From developers?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they have managed to turn families against each other.
Really?
In mine, yes. I was very disturbed about that. I didn't think that would ever happen, but they did when I attended a meeting with them, and then they called a meeting with other members of my family when I wasn't there. And they kind of led their suggestions into my family and getting them to agree with what they wanted. It was, yes, descendants fighting against descendants.
Okay.
And of course, it favored Walmart. Okay, because this is the very same descendants that had participated with the state archaeologists and Walmart's hired archaeologists in performing osteology.
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 What is that?
On the
What is
ancestral
osteology?
remains. Doing testing on the remains, gluing them together, and you know, just doing all kind of weird things to them, testing, scientific testing.
To see how old they are and stuff like
Yes.
that? Okay.
Yes,
And yet you guys already knew that?
Yes, we objected to that. All we needed to know was, yes, they were Native Hawaiians. That's all we need to know. You know, but
Right.
they wanted to know all other kinds of stuff.
Right. And by doing those things, that's more desecration, right?
That's more desecration.
Wow.
Exactly. It was a struggle right to the bitter end. Even when Walmart said, okay, we're going to kanu, we're going to bury, you know, we're going to get the kupunas ready and put them back. Even then, they fought us because they felt they didn't have enough. They wanted more say, they wanted more participation, they didn't want the way we were going to do it, you know, so.
Wow.
Here we are.
What was it? What did it feel like to live under siege for like 6 years?
Yes, it was trauma. It was bad, and that's what happens when you desecrate ancestral remains, you know, and these people don't realize that. Not even the so-called descendants that come forward to claim the kupuna, not even them realize what is happening. When you disturb the ancestral remains, they are disturbed. Their mana, their uhane is disturbed. So what happens is everybody's going to pay for it.
So who won? Who won here?
Nobody won.
Nobody
won because we suffered.
Yeah.
The family suffered 6 years. We did. It was a struggle, and more so the kupuna suffered. They were out 6 years. They were desecrated from day one. I mean, like to the end. They were under this ramp, being run over. The container itself was pilau. Was you know, it was
lousy.
Was lousy. They weren't. The Walmart wasn't good keepers. Okay, they were supposed to, if you're going to take out our kupunas, desecrate them and put them in a container until time for them to go back, then take care of them. Okay?
In other words, if you're going to do it right.
Do it right.
Do it according to culture.
Yes.
Why do you think they came in here and did it without coming to the culture first and saying, we want to do this right, coming to the community?
Because they thought they could.
Because
they're Walmart, they figured they can do whatever they want. You know, and then plus they had their hired archaeologist. You know, he stood to make a lot of money taking out all those kupunas. You know, so he really wanted the desecration to go through. He knew there was like a cemetery here. He could make a lot of money. So do the archaeological inventory survey on the other side, where there's nothing. You know, so these would be all inadvertence, and he could take them all out and make a lot of money.
Because of what happened here, are you hopeful for the future?
No.
No, why not?
No, it gets worse. I'm still in, I'm meeting with developers almost every month, new ones coming up, and they're wanting to do the same thing, move our iwi kupuna for their projects. And so when they know I'm on board, they know it's like, uh-oh.
Look out.
You know?
Here she comes.
Right.
But good for you. Good for you.
Yes, but the thing is, they also notify all the other descendants that will say, no, well, the only way to protect our iwi kupuna is to move them.
Wow. What a twisted logic.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's what the developer will lead the descendants to believe. Okay, they'll tell them, well, you know, the pile driving will disturb the earth. You know, yeah, it will disturb the earth, but not the kupuna. They're pile driving over there because they have to put up buffers to protect the kupuna. So, you know, but they lead them. The developer will lead the descendants to believe that the pile driving, the vibrations and everything will disturb the iwi. So everybody gets excited.
So it sounds like power and money have an awful lot of influence in things like this.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I've seen that happen.
Wow. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching us right now, watching you, who may be experiencing their own sort of trial and tribulation, maybe with ancestral bones, I don't know, or maybe something else.
Yeah.
And they may be looking at us right now and saying, well, she could do this because she's strong, but I'm not. What would you say to them?
The reason why I can do it is because I have my ancestors with me.
Behind you?
Behind me, absolutely. I never, if I'm going to go out and do and encounter developers or, you know, whoever it is, churched even, I call upon my ancestors. I kahea them and call them to, you know, and I tell them, come with me because today we do battle.
Today we do battle.
Today we do battle.
Wow,
And
I like that.
I've done that before. I've attended contested case hearings with the Board of Land and Natural Resources where it was just me and my attorney and my kupunas behind me, and on the other side the whole room was filled with the opponents.
Wow.
And on my side it was just my attorney, myself, and my kupunas.
Wow, you know, that says
And
to me,
we prevailed.
says to me, the power of one person can make a big difference.
Absolutely. I
Wow.
think so. Yeah.
Anohi, mahalo for being on Voices of Truth.
Hi,
You know what?
mahalo.
You are such a true inspiration. It's just amazing. It's amazing. Thank you for being on the show. And
Mahalo.
please keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Please keep protecting the ancestors because heaven knows, everybody knows they need it.
They need it.
Yeah,
Yes.
great. And to our viewers, mahalo for being with us on this Voices of Truth here at a Walmart. Remember, you can watch us on the web 24/7 on voicesoftruthtv.com. I'm Ehu Keikahu Cardwell. And until next time, ahui ho. Mahalo for watching Voices of Truth one-on-one with Hawaii's Future. Watch us on the web 24/7 at voicesoftruthtv.com. You'll find all our shows, including this one, in case you want to see it again or share it with family and friends. Also view our weekly video commentaries at freehawaiitv.com. And check out our blog, published daily, at freehawaii.info. It's all part of the Free Hawaii Broadcasting Network.